Hey everyone, my name is Marissa, and I'm super excited to be sharing space with you guys today in the ethers. Very excited to be offering these divination sessions. So, these are in regards to your soul's vision. So, that's just another way of saying the soul's blueprint. I gotta kind of switch it up to keep things interesting. But we do have four aspects that we're diving into throughout each of these readings. We're diving into the person that you are now, who you have been in the past, your current expectations for your destiny life or just your life plan in general, how your life is unfolding, and actions that you can take to get back in alignment with your bliss, your joy, and with what brings your soul alive and sets your heart on fire. So, very excited today. You have four piles to choose from. Feel free to pause the video if you need to. And when you're feeling ready, we're going to hop right into these readings. Hey, group number one, welcome to your reading for your soul's vision. These are essentially soul blueprint readings, and these are some of my favorite readings to do just because there are so many intricate layers and levels to the soul's blueprint that you could read them for the rest of your life and still be unearthing more relevancy. Okay, so very excited for these readings today. We're diving into four aspects. So first is who you are now, who you've become, and then kind of what shaped who you've become. So what's occurred in your past, your current expectations of life, and then also actions that you can take to help progress in the direction that feels most liberating to you guys, okay? So very excited. I have a tarot deck here that is just here to help clarify if we need it. But I'm going to jump right into this reading. So you guys chose the Love Yourself card and the Rhodonite card, okay? And we'll get to that in a second. I want to start off with who you guys are now, and it's very clear based off of the Love Yourself. And the Rhodonite is a stone of the heart, okay? This is the energy of the heart chakra. So it's clear that who you've become someone that is extremely reliable, okay? You're someone that's very independent. People look up to you. You really care about your fellow man. You care about making the world a better place. You do have a pack mentality in terms of wanting everyone to succeed in their own way and to discover their gifts and to flourish and to thrive. However, I feel like you are okay with being alone, okay? And it's very clear that you have been through some deep emotional wounding, possibly even some like abandonment wounds from childhood, or just like feeling deeply rejected is something that comes up like that is very frequent, okay, throughout this entire reading. Feeling like you don't fit in and feeling like you don't really have a place, like you're a misfit, okay? And so I'm seeing that this is a deep part of your soul's blueprint for a reason. These things don't happen by accident, believe it or not. That's just not what I feel, right? It all is setting the stage for your story, so to speak. So you have become someone that is like, you persevere, and no matter how many disappointments you've had in love or friendship, it's like you don't let that deter you from what you're here for. I feel like you've always had a really deep connection to the divine and to something greater than yourself. All right, so that humanitarian energy is very clear, and it's like I'm getting a lot of rebirth energy with all of this darkness that's coming. That these cards or these pictures are kind of sitting in. It's like you've really grown into this beautiful, powerful, independent being through the immense amount of suffering that you've been through. And so, that's kind of a great segue into your past. I mean, the Rhodonite talks about, bringing light emotional scars from the past and transforming them to form a stable everyday life. So I feel like you guys have struggled, like the rest of us in humanity, to different degrees for sure, but it just feels like a deep part of your soul's blueprint is really struggling with having compassion for yourself and feeling beautiful in your own skin, feeling confident in your own skin, feeling good in your own skin. And again, I'm getting this deep sense that something occurred in earlier incarnation that kind of like set these wounds in place and that kind of set your soul's blueprint into place. And so I feel like it's been a journey into coming into and becoming a being that is very self-sourced, right? It's like you have learned to, not rely on other people so much to tell you who you are. You've kind of created yourself right? It's like you've had to turn away from, in some senses, you've really had to reject society. You've had to reject familial opinions, like people around you. I feel like you just, it's deeply enmeshed in your code that you are not supposed to like fit in. And if you start to feel like you're fitting in somewhere, I feel like you guys might get a little uncomfortable, or maybe you have a lot of mutable signs throughout your chart in general to where you don't stick in one place too long. But ultimately there's like, you are fixed in terms of like, you want to make the planet a better place, and you want to help alleviate suffering in people's lives, in terms of suffering in similar ways that you have suffered. Because I feel like there's been a lot of betrayal and heartbreak and loss and despair, like deep despair. But that's why you guys are so strong. That's why you guys are so magnetic. And I feel like ultimately it's like, I don't feel that you guys know the extent of which you impact the lives of others, and the extent at which other people feel deeply inspired by you and what you bring to the table. And when you do choose to share your story, which I feel like it's like maybe as you grow more comfortable in your story and like embodying more of it, not necessarily embodying it, but not being so ashamed of those past experiences and thinking that it has something to do with you. I feel like when people do get deeper glimpses into your heart and your core, they're very like astounded, and it gives them a lot of hope, because I feel like you've come so far. And I feel like people kind of sense that you have been through some stuff, right? Because you do have this like powerhouse, like I love that we have the powerful feline archetype, and we have the powerful canine archetype, right? It's such a beautiful balance of just like these power symbols of, beings that, they are, the lions work in prides and wolves work in packs, but ultimately it's like, they're soft and cuddly and, like, what's the word, like relaxed, but then also they have, when they need to get shit done, or when something is threatening their sense of security, or like pushing boundaries or whatever, then it's like there's a side of them, or a side of you, that people sense that, is very powerful and could do some damage on, whatever ways. Because we do have like Mars energy coming through here too. So I feel like just when you're very passionate about something, you're so willing to fight for it. And you fight for other people. You like are someone that does the right thing, even when it's hardest to do so. Okay. And so like, that's very admirable. And I think you've learned to stick up for people, like the people that can't really speak for themselves. Because I feel like maybe you didn't have that. Maybe you didn't have too many people that could stick up for you, or that were as tender as you are. I really feel like you guys are very sensitive. Okay. You really absorb and can sense into the realms and the paradigms and the realities of other people. And a big part of that is from this wounding that I see that you guys have potentially experienced. Your psychic gifts came online even more with those traumatic experiences. And if you don't like the term psychic, you can just say that your ability to read the room increased, because you kind of needed it to do so for survival. All right. So I feel like you're like moving on into the reading. Your expectations of life is that, this card talks about like feeling like, when is it going to end? I mean, look at how much, like, look at the despair this woman's in. It's like, I feel like a deeper part of you might expect things to, like, this is giving me the sense of like, on one level, I feel like you guys are open to being proven wrong, in terms of like, you probably have great reflections of soul family and what true, authentic, and supportive connections are like. But I feel like deep down, there's like a part of you that still is running this narrative of, I don't fit in anywhere, or, I heard woe is me. That's not me. Okay. That's not me saying it. It's that I'm just the messenger. All right. And this is just like, really, this is what this path is about. And becoming free is like just being honest, if you feel it in your field, especially as strong as I feel like you guys have felt this like abandonment and just like rejection core wound, I feel like, it's important to remember that that is a karmic knot in humanity. And the deeper someone feels, whether you or someone else feels a certain like hang up or shame or whatever around a certain area, it's safe to say that, there is a large portion of humanity that also experiences that to more or less degrees, some even more than you do, right? because I feel like ultimately we'll get deeper with the tarot, but I feel like this hasn't crippled you. Like instead of like becoming like, you know, a shy, meek individual, you've really allowed this to shape you into a very powerful leader. Okay. And so you've really taken this, you know, bullshit and kind of like made a fertilizer, used it to grow you into who you are, right? Someone that has firm boundaries and is learning firm boundaries even more, and that knows what they stand for and is not gonna, you know, but I feel like, yeah, it's like a deeper part of you. And it's interesting that we have 37 to 38, because I feel like you acknowledge the progression that you've made. Okay. And I feel like you're kind of waiting for these karmic scales to be officially tied and officially tipped. So it's like, okay, I keep having these experiences of, you know, social anxiety or PTSD, or just like, you know, maybe it has caused you in the past, a lot of like frustration to see how easy other people can seem to exist in life, right? And you're like, God, that's not fair. Like, you know, I have all this fucking baggage that's like getting in the way of me like truly loving people, you know? And so it's like the compassionate part of you, you know, that yin energy is going to help heal this, right? Yeah, I'm going to get a little bit deeper. Can you clarify more about what pile 1 is expectations pile 1 has? Oh my God, look at that. Yeah, you have the heart chakra. So I think you guys know there's a lot of, you know, like emotional wounding that has occurred, and an emotional healing that that is a big link to, I feel like you feeling like the scales are going to tip. Like I deeply feel that you guys are aware of the heart. Yeah, I mean, this is such like, this is such a beautiful like depiction of what a soul's blueprint is. Like you have these experiences, the heart closes down, we feel like we can't trust, we feel like we can't love, we overcome it, and almost in a sense you can become a little bit hardened. I'm not saying that's where you guys are at, but sometimes we become cold before we realize that, oh my God, my heart has shut down, because it's like you just enter this survival mode. Okay. And so I feel like now you are, there's a deep part of you that is like coming back online, and you know, bringing the heart back online too, which is going to just like even make you even more so of a powerful individual when the heart comes online more. Because I do feel that, you know, you have certain expectations of those patterns continuing to play themselves out. Like it might be like a more deeply rooted subconscious narrative, you know, and something that's not on the surface of your experiences, but, you know, in the ways that you like are cautious around certain people, or the ways that you the ways that you feel like you can't be fully relaxed when you're around people. Okay, that's those old narratives coming up, right? And just using all of that as just feedback to see, okay, how can I relax into this experience and learn to trust myself more? Because it's not you that betrayed yourself, you know, and caused these situations to happen, not from this level at least, right? On a higher level, that's a different story, okay? To have these necessary catalysts and this experience of overcoming something from this plane. And so I feel like, the more comfortable, you're going to begin to feel much more comfortable in your skin when your heart begins to open more. All right, because it's the mind that feels like it has something to protect or to like guard itself from, but it's the heart that knows that, you know, all is well, and, you know, we have the same core, and we all have the same desires deep down, okay, and that is to love, ultimately to love and be loved. And so, you know, it's very clear that when that is like the deepest truth, one of the deepest truths of being incarnate is like to be love, to just be love, right? And that is also the part of you, or your experience has been in the opposite direction of trusting that, you know, that's a deep core wound, okay? And I feel like you guys are acknowledging that, but I do feel like you expect yourself to come online more, and that you're not going to stay here. I know pile 1 does not expect to stay here, but I feel like sometimes you can get frustrated when your most authentic self can't come forward, and these protection mechanisms come on, and you start to get anxious, and you start to like not be the version of yourself that you know you are. But again, it's just like these old karmic patterns kind of running themselves out. So next we have the Hanged Man. So it's like having a sense of like removing your sense of identity from these things that are playing out. It's like just like watching it and noticing it, and, you know, you actually help loosen the karmic knot, when you are just aware of it with the Hanged Man, right? Like you're loosening that karmic knot. So when you go through these experiences again, or when you have, like you say, like you're triggered by someone that maybe for whatever reason like triggers this past energy, if you go through that experience on autopilot, that's going to, deepen that karmic knot. But if you go through it with an expanded awareness and you're zooming out and you're seeing the different perspective and you're seeing it from the bird's eye view, then you're undoing some of that you're untying that karmic knot, you're loosening it up a little bit more. And that's how you, with this Justice and the Hanged Man together, just really remind me of the ultimate duo, one of the ultimate duos in terms of like transcending your karma, right? And utilizing it for what it was, and, using it as a tool to see where you're still denying your own light, or where you kind of have grown cold. The shadow has just like overwhelmed certain areas of your psyche, emotionally speaking, spiritually speaking. All right. And so I feel like ultimately you kind of expect yourself to come out of this at some point, but maybe it's just not at the rate that you want it. Right. And so let's get a little bit deeper in terms of how we can, like, the action steps we can take to help accelerate this process. So I love that you have the you're not for everyone. Embrace your weirdness, face your true north, because generally our deepest gifts and what we're here to do and contribute to the planet are linked to, our greatest fears. And so maybe if being different or looking different, like maybe not wanting to stand out too much has kind of been your narrative, or been like playing it so small, or playing it small enough, like you don't want to trigger other people to be competitive with you, or like anything that you could possibly do that might cause someone to be like, to reject you in any way. So that even comes down to speaking your truth, right? Dimming down your truth and what you feel is right. And like, again, not having boundaries can go into that, right? I feel like actions to take is to just embrace that you're never gonna be on everyone's good side, right? You're never gonna be on everyone's good graces. Everyone's gonna have something to fucking say at some time. And it's like, when you're really leaning into something that is authentic to you, it's only other people that aren't living a life that's authentic to them that I feel like have the most to say. Okay. And there's many, that's a very generalized statement to say, but there's many different layers to these things. But I feel like when you are generally going after the things that set you on fire, and that because you understand that that's why we're like deep down what we're all here to do, leaning towards those things that set our soul on fire, and that like is guided by the heart, not necessarily the mind. Like when you can recognize you're doing that and that's how you live your life, then you can recognize that in other people. And so like you don't judge other people, and you're like, okay, it might not be for me, but like I honor you and I respect you, right? And so this is not taking your cues from the outside. That's one of the biggest gifts that this aspect of your soul blueprint has really helped establish for you is, be different, stand out, whatever, in whatever way that means for you. And it's interesting too that sometimes we can have these like concepts of like, what one person might be doing for attention or coming from like an imbalanced state, another person could be doing the same thing, and it really is them honoring their soul's blueprint and being, and like, this is kind of a step for me, right? This is kind of like really put myself out there. So while one person might be doing it from a distorted place, that could be actually a very integral part, an honest part, and genuine part of your expression, right? And so again, it's like not judging, judging after appearances, and just like doing you woo-woo, and just like honoring the fractal of creation that you came to be this time around. So you also have activated earth, so trusting where you're guided. So again, it's like, you have the waiting game coming through. Okay. Let's get one more. There's one right there. Solitude. Can you guys see these? So I feel like if some of you guys have been like guided down a new path, it's really important to be following that. It might be something that causes other people to look at you kind of weird or whatever. I'm also getting it's important, in terms of the actions you can take to help like heal this deep sense of just like, feeling just misplaced in a world where everything belongs, right? Everything is, part of the harmony of the whole. I feel like understanding like I dislike how much I say like, okay? So bear with me. When I notice it, I like cringe a little bit. Okay. So understanding that sometimes this is going to take time, and it doesn't mean you're taking steps backwards just because you're not like the ultimate state of perfection. All right. And so understanding that it's a spiral, and sometimes before we actually even see how far we've come, it's like the roots have been growing much longer before we even see the sprouts of something. Okay. So I feel like if you're being guided to explore something new right now, or like research something new right now, or even travel somewhere, or like even move, we have financial and material changes coming up right underneath activated earth, trust where you're led. Right. And so I feel like Spirit is also coming through and saying, take time, right? Take time to marinate on, your best case scenario. Take time to marinate on where you might still, like, where these narratives have been born, and where you might still be selling yourself short, and where you might still be, kind of letting people in that don't deserve to be let in. Right. And so like, it's definitely a delicate balance of being accountable, but then also not like, giving yourself time to heal a wound. Right. And so it's your responsibility. It falls on your shoulders to give space for that to heal. All right. And then when you have given yourself that space to heal, and you come around certain people that might trigger these old things, maybe in the past they triggered it, but now they don't, right? Now they don't trigger it as much, or you feel like no matter what setting you're in, you can shine and you can be who you are, and you can stay in this leadership type of energy that deep down know yourself to be, and this love for yourself that you've like genuinely and organically created from the inside out. Right. And so understanding that it's not an overnight process. All right. And there, with face your true north and trust where you're led, I feel like you guys are being guided somewhere that you probably have been feeling for a while, or you can kind of feel that things are shifting for you. All right. Things are about to change for you. And there might be some things that you've been considering, that you've been marinating on, that you've been thinking about, that you might have even been like really interested in, that you're being guided to explore a little bit more. And this is like the confirmation, like the more that you're just like can rely on yourself, and the more that you're not waiting to be perfect to put yourself out there, and the more you can relax into all of these experiences and learning to trust your body more is really what I'm feeling, because the intuitive heart is connected to the subtle body, the nervous system. So the more you can like trust that more, not override it with overthinking, right? And not cutting off your heart, but again, still having that compassionate, like extricating yourself enough to have that compassionate point of view. Because I do feel like you guys deeply feel you're here for bigger things than what you're already experiencing. All right. And so if there have been adventures that you've been wanting to take, or like just more authentic versions of yourself, where you're speaking more authentically, you're being more honest about how you feel. You're being honest about those boundaries that are important to you. I feel like the more that you do that, the more that you're, things will just make more sense. I am getting the sense that maybe there is like a degree of waiting for your path to emerge, or waiting for that thing to be more clear, or like waiting to feel locked into your blueprint, or waiting to feel locked into your soul's plan. And it's like, the more that you just embody and follow those things that naturally feel like an extension of your joy, then the more that's going to make sense. All right. And the more that you like, it's so important that the heart stays open, and that you act on the nudges of your heart, because then that's going to strengthen that intuitive capacity, that intuitive muscle. But I feel like where you're going, it's really important that you've already established a really powerful bond and a really powerful trust with your own heart, and you're not questioning it so much, or questioning if you're worthy for this, all of the abundance and all of the incredible connections that are inevitable with these types of codes that I'm seeing. I'm seeing helps remove blame from the situation, whether it's pointed at you or someone else, accepting the situation for what it is, learning to forgive yourself with love and compassion in the process. So I feel like overall, your guides are really pointing out that, there might be an over-identification with a story. there might be like a repetition, because we do have with the Hermit card and the Hanged Man, I am getting this sense of like needing to extricate your sense of identity from these experiences. All right. And maybe even checking your narrative of like, okay, just because this is what has been true in the past doesn't mean this has to be what is true for the future. All right. And moving forward fearlessly, not like shutting yourself off to those experiences, but utilizing them as fuel. And just like, the fuel is in how much more free you become within experiences that you used to feel extremely crippled. All right. There's nothing that feels so much like so good. There's nothing that feels better than, you know, walking into a situation that used to create so much anxiety and dis-ease and panic, right? And then to walk into it later after, you know, you've taken your time in solitude and you've been leaning into self-care practices and, you know, remembering why you're here and, you know, taking a deep dive into spirituality or whatever it is, philosophical teachings. And then approaching a situation very similar to something that would have set you off years ago, and you're so much more calm and you're so much more grounded and established in yourself. And it's like a good representation. It feels like a really good representation of who you actually are, right? And so I feel like, yeah, it's like no more waiting. Not waiting to be perfected, but still honoring that, you know, these karmic propensities will take time, and it doesn't mean that you're not growing, doesn't mean that you're not evolving. And I feel like whatever it is, you know, that was written in your soul's blueprint, I do feel like it has a deep link to how you create abundance, because you've like, I feel like it's caused you to deep dive into research, or to like, you know, this deep suffering, this deep wounding has like catalyzed you on your path in a big way. And that's generally, you know, part of the soul's blueprint. Part of the genius of the soul's blueprint is our deepest sufferings end up being our greatest gifts. And I feel like, you know, honoring however these unique codes play a part. There is something about a book, whether it's reading, writing, whatever, or teaching, you know, but I feel like there is a deep link between what you've learned, who you've become, and like that having a direct link to how you are making money and how you are supporting yourself. Yeah, and with the to be fair and the sacrifice and the Rhodonite, it's like, you know, letting other people off the hook. And, you know, just like Tupac has said, I want my enemies to eat, just not at my table. Okay, it's like honoring the oneness of everything and understanding people do shitty things when they're confused and when they're in suffering. But, you know, you can forgive, but it's more for you and less necessarily for them. But it is also for them when you start to recognize them more as just aspects of yourself, right? So this feels pretty complete. I'm going to leave this here for now. I hope this brought clarity, confirmation, and peace to your heart. Pile number 1, if it did, please comment down below, give this video a thumbs up, a like, whatever. I'm trying to think what would be a cool, yeah, maybe leave a green heart in the comment section if you've made it this far. And yeah, I hope to see you soon. Hey, group number 2, welcome to your reading for your soul's vision. We have 4 aspects we're diving into today. We're diving into who you are now. We're going to be diving into like what experiences caused you to be who you are now, right? With you know, these 2 cards that you guys chose. And then we're also diving into your current expectations of your life and how it's unfolding, as well as actions to take so it's unfolding in a way that feels much more free and blissful and exciting, etc. So right away, we're going to start off with who you are now. So, I mean, this is an ultimate pairing of someone that is like extremely self-sourced. All right, the camel is like the ultimate archetype for like self-nourishment. And having the resources within, knowing when it needs to take a break and to revitalize itself for the long journey ahead, okay? And, you know, because you have the Ace of Cups too, I feel like there's so much here about love, okay? You have the cosmic heart, you have soulmates with all these little hearts. I mean, even apologize, and Amazonite just tells me that you guys have a deep regard for your fellow man, a deep regard for your fellow humans, and you want to leave the world a better place than you found it. You're very giving of your resources, okay? You're very sharing. It's like you want everyone to win. This is not a pile where it's like, in order to feel good and in order to feel like you're on your right path, you have to be the best. It's like you want to celebrate with other people. You know, the journey is not worth it if you're alone, is something that you've learned. And there's a great balance here because, you know, this is like a fire card. I believe this is fire. Yeah. And, you know, the camel this is bringing a lot of water, right? Water balanced with water and fire. So it's like harmonizing and alchemizing opposites, alchemizing like hard, tough experiences. And just like, you know, things that I feel like you get to this point of being so empathetic and so compassionate because you've probably been met with experiences that caused you to not be that way, which is a great segue into, you know, what I'm really feeling from this pile number 2 is I feel like what's occurred in your life to get you to the state of being so like such a beacon of hope and such a beacon of like, I'm going to follow my heart above all else. And I know I have to rely on myself. Like I'm want to share this with other people, and I do share this with other people, but I know I need to be self-sufficient and self-sourced. I feel like there have been moments where you have kind of gone against yourself. I feel like this apologize has mainly to do with yourself and maybe feeling like you have betrayed yourself, okay? And, you know, with Virgo energy coming through in Uranus, I feel like you can be a little bit self-critical and like really hard on yourself, all right? And I feel like you have maybe filtered out your truth at some points, right? I feel like you're also very sensitive, right? Amazonite is a stone that helps heal and just like clear like EMFs, electromagnetic pollution, right? EMF, is that what it is? But you know, this just essentially tells me that I feel like you guys carry the weight of the world, okay? And almost in excess. And yeah, I feel like you have just had experiences where you have learned that you can no longer sell out on yourself, right? And this, I know sometimes that can sound harsh. Sometimes Spirit has me speaking in extremes to really drive home a point, right? But it says detach from the outside in order to connect to the inside. I feel like you guys maybe have in the past, like what has guided you to be here is because you have gone against your own better judgment at some points that have maybe put you in like physical danger, psychological danger, emotional danger, when you have gone against your better judgment, okay? In Ayurveda, they say that there's 3 main root causes of disease. Also, what is Ayurveda? It's the science of life is what Ayurveda means essentially, and it's one of the oldest forms of holistic healing, successful, practical holistic healing, all right? It's 5,000 years old at least, been around way longer than modern medicine, okay? And the 3 root causes of disease, one of those root causes is crimes against your wisdom, is how it's translated in English. So crimes against your better judgment is another way of saying that. So when you know something is truthful to you and you go against it, or when you know someone's not good for you, or you probably shouldn't milk this connection and you do it anyways, right? And there, you know, you don't get to hear without making some mistakes, okay? So this is not giving you permission to like, you know, be mean to yourself or be hard on yourself, all right? With this Virgoan energy, but this is, again, this is just kind of, if anything, reaffirming your experiences that you've been through and that they were not on accident and that, you know, you weren't doing something wrong, right? That's part of what makes the soul blueprint what it is there are significant challenges, there are significant like events in our life that from a higher level we knew were going to occur in order to like create a certain imprint, like a psychic imprint, which karma or like samskara is another way of saying that, a psychic impression that would kind of lead us in a direction, right? And so instead of like closing down and becoming someone that is like, you know, someone that is very codependent, you guys have become very independent, all right, and very loving and very knowing how to nourish yourself and knowing how to give to other people, very creative. There's so much water, and water is like such a sweet element, right? It is so nourishing. You know, nothing like water on a super hot day. It's like there's nothing better than that feeling, right? So we're going to get a little bit deeper in your past, what occurred to shape you into who you are now. Resting and rejuvenating. So yeah, I feel like you guys took time to kind of like figure out what this means to you. Like, I feel like instead of maybe you did have moments where you shut down, but I feel like ultimately you utilize this as an opportunity to get to know yourself better. These experiences where maybe you were in environments that were not safe for you, and maybe that's something that you even learned because your parents brought you there, your caretakers had an environment that wasn't necessarily safe for you, and so that was kind of like your normal, right? And for some of you, it could just be that, like, even sometimes school, there's like 3 places that, they in psychology say that we accrue karma from, and it's like the three core places that seem authoritative. The first is your parents, the next is like teachers, and the last is like your classmates, right? Because your classroom growing up is like the whole world, right? So if you don't fit in there, then that can be a very like traumatic experience, or an environment that doesn't feel safe for you to show up as you truly are. So any one of those could be what has triggered you into a state in the past to make you feel like you've gone against yourself and you haven't truly honored your truth, but it's shaped you into someone that is never going to not honor their truth. Like, you are someone that is like, man, I just get this feeling that you are like, even if you don't assume this about yourself, you guys are like the life of the party, and you guys are so intuitive to what other people need and what they want. And I feel like being in your space, I can tell that people just feel so nourished, like it feels equally reciprocated and not like one-sided, right? And people really feel seen and heard and served by you, just by your presence alone. Really good listeners is what I'm hearing too. Like, you listen from the level of the heart, and you don't judge people, right? You see people as they truly are, and not as like, their karmic propensities would suggest they are, okay? So moving on, getting into like your expectations for life. I feel like, there's so much of this heart energy you do expect. Like, the leg up talks about, like, it gets to a point to where you can't just do it on your own, okay? It's like you've become so self-sufficient that you're like, okay, now I can actually have partnerships that there's no codependency, and where it's like we're coming together just because it truly feels like the most joyful thing to do, right? And so I feel like you do expect that, right? You do expect to have partnerships that are equally giving. And the soulmates card, it talks about, lovers and friends, right? This is not just, just one aspect of the heart chakra. It's like all around, like feeling loved and supported by your work, feeling loved and supported by your partner, by your family, your chosen family, whatever it is. And so I feel like your expectation is that like things are just going to get better. And I deeply feel that they are. Yeah. Foundation and achievements, I think, or I can feel that a big part of what is going to, like, a big part of your success has to do with this community that's currently being built, and this soul family, these soul family connections. We have the crown chakra. Yeah. Understanding the interconnectivity of everything. I feel like, yeah, you guys are very wise. I feel like intuitively you already know, like, you already can feel the direction that you're moving into with this open crown. Like, you guys are already, even from a young age, I can see that you have taken those challenges and, kind of utilize them to springboard you. And that's the mark of an old soul, is deep down you understand, okay, my challenges are here to shape me into something. This is supposed to shape me into something. And so I feel like you had a deep awareness of, the fact that, okay, this was here to, set a certain imprint, and then now this is who I become, right? And moving into something where it does feel like your relationships are just like the fuel of your life, and just I just feel such a richness. That is what determines how old we live, or how young we die. Not all the time, right? But that's just like, it's to say that your relationships are a big part of how fulfilled you feel in life. And I feel like you just expect them to get better and better. And I feel like you're actually taking, I might be jumping the gun a little bit, but I feel like you just expect this to come in at some point. Material harvest. Yeah, big part of, I feel like because you're feeling so fulfilled holistically that, prosperity in the right places, when you feel prosperous enough in the right places, right? It's like you carry yourself differently. And so you just become a magnet. Like your heart is just, the biggest part of the electromagnetic field of a human that can be measured is the heart, right? The energy that the heart emits. And I feel like you're becoming more of a magnet. We have more of the crown energy coming through here too. So yeah, I feel like this is stuff that you already know. Like, you deeply already feel you're moving in this direction, and you can already see the types of relationships that you're going to draw. And you probably already have a vision too of like what you want to do, like the community that you're creating. It could already be like in the process, which is a great segue into like the actions you can take. We do have, it's not yet time, things are being woven. So maybe you're just not experiencing this yet to the degree that you thought you would. I am getting a little bit of like impatience vibe from this group, but I just feel like it's because your crown is so active and so open that you can already, you have such a deep connection with your higher self. And so it's like, you're very excited about this coming in, and yeah, it's just not time yet, you know, with soulmates and other people being significant part of this foundation and this material harvest, and like, you know, what you're going to bring into the planet and how you're going to be utilizing your gifts, your unique skills, talents, abilities in order to sustain yourself holistically. You know, when it's with this type of community vibe that I'm really feeling from this, then, you know, there's other people, there's other timelines that we have to honor too. Okay, and so there might be like certain significant things that other people have to experience karmically, etc., you know, before these things come into, before they happen, you know, but don't make any of this mean that you're not on the right path, or, you know, that maybe it is too good to be true, or maybe I'm just making it up, right? Yeah, and I feel like that's what devotion, true devotion is you're releasing your idea of time frames, and you're releasing your idea that you know how it should play out, right? Because the heart is boundless. It's only the mind. And there's not a whole lot of like mind activity here. And then one card that there is mental activity, it's like a good card. It's a positive card. Like when you start to become too overactive in your mind, it's like, okay, drop back into the heart. What do I know to be true? With here, the level of awareness that you guys are operating at, I feel like it's not hard for you to like identify when you become too mind oriented, and okay, how do I like self-nourish? Like, how can I experience more joy? Like, you guys know what the true fulfillment and true, like, you guys have your priorities straight, pile number 2, is what I'm trying to say. So let's get a little bit deeper action to take. Why is it not time yet? Why is it not time yet for pile number? Awareness. Oh my God, more of that crown chakra. Look at that. We have triumph, discontent, and boredom. Yeah, I definitely feel that maybe it's just like, I feel like if anything, because we don't have too much of like the earth element on the board, I feel like if anything, there might be like a fear or a worry that because things look a certain way in your reality, like this might feel like such a far off thing that you might be wondering if it's even possible. All right. But with the awareness, you know, the Magician card essentially, in this discontent and boredom, I feel like this is, you know, again, and devotion, right? It's just like understanding that things are being woven, that things will happen when they're meant to. All right. And as long as you are tuning in and going in alignment, like following your heart and remaining in a lighthearted disposition, I feel like things are going to come in really quickly when it does come in. Okay. And it feels like it's going to like really come in quick, and you'll look back at this period of almost like, oh my God, this was like rest and rejuvenation. All right. Because I feel like whatever this is, like when you guys really do lock into this part of your blueprint, when you're creating this community and you're working with these other people, and, you know, whatever it is, however this resonates for you guys, right? I feel like it's going to come in hot. And the resources are part of that. Like, this is your dharmic path. Right? So along with being able to fulfill a dharmic path comes the resources necessary. And so it's really about deepening it and trusting, and not, and I don't think you guys do this too much. So if anything, this is like a confirmative reading of you're on the right path, right? You are exactly where you're meant to be. I mean, you're flourishing in your emotion, in your emotionality, your spirituality. I feel like you're already starting to see like trickles of really genuine people coming in that are on your level, and that, you know, are about the things that you're about, and that are just genuine hearted people. All right. And so now it's a time of just being patient with the unfolding, and being patient and just knowing it's going to come when it's meant to. And deep down, you guys already know that. But again, it's like there's so much of this crown energy and third eye energy of like just getting downloads all the time of what it feels like, what it looks like. But you're already connected. As long as you're in this space, you're already connected to this, your highest timeline, and just stay in this energy. And you're not going to be in this forever, okay? When it comes, it's coming in hot. Like when the stars align, man, it's coming in hot. And like, I feel like your biggest thing is like yeah, as again, remembering where you came from, however cheesy that sounds, but just continuing to stay true to you is the best thing you can do. In big ways, small ways, taking space when you need to, and just not filtering your truth. All right, remaining objective, keeping that objective stance that the crown provides for us, right? But also understanding that you're here to play a specific part. Okay, not compromising on that part. Staying self-sufficient, self-nourished, because there might also be an aspect here of like when you guys fall in love, it's like deep, it's like a fall, okay? And so maybe there's like some things that come up where there's a sense of not losing yourself, okay? Not losing yourself in a relationship, not losing yourself in a job or in a career area, not losing yourself, and keeping your heart devoted to just like being, right? Keeping your heart devoted to the foundation and achievements that truly matter, which is your, oh my gosh, we have 444, which is like the number of integration is what my guides have shown me. And, the archangels, and just like knowing that there's so much here that is like, you are so supported on this path. So I really don't even really need to carry on. It's just, don't filter yourself. Continue to like keep an open heart, but speak your truth, right? Setting boundaries. That might be part of it. Maybe there's some old karmic cords that are clearing where you still tend to not fully speak your truth. And so like where you're going and the type of leadership role that you're stepping into really requires you to have a strong sense of self, okay? Where you're not sacrificing any bit of your truth and you're standing firm in who you are and what you stand for. And the more that you're doing that, I feel like that is also part of this karmic unfolding. And that's going to like invite this to come in, quicker, or it's just a deep link, okay? Just understand that you not filtering and you being open-hearted yet still setting clear boundaries and speaking your truth and saying it how it is, with love in your heart, with understanding the unitive, right? The unity of consciousness and of the heart, right? The human heart, honoring the humanity in everyone. I feel like that's a big part of this foundation that's being laid, and it's a big part of this role that you're stepping into and that you're being prepared for at this time, okay? Pile number 2, I'm going to leave this reading here for now. This is so beautiful. Thank you so much. If you guys chose this group today, maybe leave it in the comment section, like either the crown chakra or like the heart chakra or something. Crown would be really cool, but maybe a camel, whatever resonates, penguin, polar bear. But this was very beautiful. Thank you for entrusting me with this type of reading, and I hope to see you guys soon. Hey, group number 3, welcome to your reading for your soul's vision. We have 4 aspects we're diving into today. We're diving into who you are now, based off of like who you've been, okay? So the experiences that kind of shaped you into who you are. We'll be diving into your current expectations of life and how it's unfolding, and then any actions you can take to kind of help make this process a bit more seamless in terms of embodying more of your divine blueprint and just feeling good and just free, okay? So got some tarot oracle cards here that we're going to use to get deeper. But if you chose this tiger's eye and the self-care card, this is definitely for you. Or I guess we'll see if this is for you. You'll see. You'll let me know. So starting with who you are, I feel like pile 3. So the thing about the starfish, like this is an incredibly powerful card, okay? This is a card about like the person that shines. I get a lot of Leo energy actually from the starfish. It's like, how I describe Leos, or like they just like to shine for the pure fact of shining, right? It's like, give me my stage and I'll show up kind of thing. And I feel like who you are is like you recognize your discontent. You recognize that as being divine, like divine discontent with this 4 of Cups. The 2 of Swords also can represent like reaching a stalemate and having 2 options where neither one of them seems right, or just options in general where neither one of them seems right. And this like really beautifully flows into the entirety of this reading, because I feel like you guys are someone that like you don't want to stay on the level of superficiality. And maybe that's something too, that maybe you grew up in environments where there was a lot of like superficial pressures, or you like maybe you just grew up in modern culture where there's a lot of emphasis placed on like superficial things. And so like leading someone to have all of these great things in front of them, but not being able to appreciate them because their sights are set on something that is not as important, right? But I don't feel like that's you. I feel like you guys have gone in a direction where, like, on one level, I feel like you guys are very attractive and very magnetic, okay? Because we also have Leo and Capricorn coming through over here. So I feel like you guys have always, and Tiger's Eye, right? You guys have always been beings that, you know, we have a cardinal sign here and we have a fixed sign. So you guys are like self-starters, right? You start something and then you dedicate to it, right? You don't give up. You guys are not one to give up with go the distance here. So I feel like who you are might have been born from maybe overextending yourself in areas that didn't matter, or like feeling like you wasted your time, or, and this doesn't mean, I'm not confirming this as like as it is, but I'm just saying like what has created you into who you are now, I feel like might have been born from feeling like you were putting your energy towards shit that didn't matter, right? And things that were like weighing you down. And there might be even, I'm hearing something about like maybe there were like you partied a lot, or, you know, felt like you spent a lot of money on stuff that didn't matter, or whatever, you know, but, you know, remembering that's part of the blueprint, remembering that is part of, you know, the learning process and this experience that we have taking human birth of, you know, the experience of overcoming something. Okay, so, you know, I feel like you guys are very disciplined. Like, I feel like you care a lot about your physical appearance and like how you feel and like what you put in your body. Like, this is such a random message, but I really do feel like you guys maybe made some changes on a superficial level that ended up holistically being really great for you. So what I mean by that is, like, sometimes we like start to diet or we start to exercise, for example, because we want to get in better shape. And while that can have like a superficial kind of intention at first, like when we see holistically how we feel, we're much more patient and we just feel more clear. We feel like we have a lot more clarity and we have more energy, and, you know, the endorphin high lasts for 24 hours at least. And so you're in a better mood, naturally elevated. I feel like, you know, that kind of thing. And it doesn't have to just be fitness, but something that started off as like a superficial longing or things that you wanted to fix superficially because you didn't feel like you were good enough and maybe, you know, struggled in the self-esteem department or whatever. And then it ended up catapulting you into, not only now are you like so attractive, like very handsome or very beautiful, man or woman, whatever, but also you have like such a deep level of gratitude for who you've been and what you have and where you're going. And I feel like you're not willing to settle for superficiality and shit that doesn't matter. And but maybe at some point you did. And maybe at some point, like, there was like, I'm getting a sense of overextending yourself with the self-care here. And again, sometimes that can be born from like feeling like that's the only way that we'll get love or get recognition, as if you're the good girl or the good boy, or like you're doing things that other people can approve of. Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's so much here about ambition. I mean, you have Leo and Capricorn, which are like ultimate ambition cards to me. You have go the distance. You have, you know, the courageous peony. Like, there's so much here that is reinstating that regardless of whatever experiences of like lack of power you probably experienced, lack of optimism, lack of courage, right, has kind of catapulted you into this being that is just so attractive and such a catch. I'm getting like very charismatic, okay, very like enthusiastic, very fun to be around, right? Someone that is just so magnetic and people just like want to be around you. And like, I feel like you can help, like, one of your gifts is like you can help people see the painful experiences in life and help them see the like extracting the nutrients from whatever that was there to provide for them on a soul's level. And I feel like it's because you are so established in your own why, right? You've asked those questions yourself. So yeah, I feel like you've overcome a lot, right? This is to clarify the, you know, these experiences you had that have shaped you into who you are. I feel like you've taken a lot of time to get to know yourself and to take care of yourself. And yeah, I feel like you haven't backed down, okay? You've been very, very adamant about what it is you want, and you're not willing to settle for less. You've never been willing to settle for less. Yeah, there's been a lot of facing your shadow. I feel like there's been a lot of, again, understanding I'm sorry if you can hear my neighbors mowing their lawn, okay? Just gonna put that out there. But you might have I'm not surprised to see this, because someone that exudes such power and grace and equanimity generally has written in their soul blueprint the opposite of those things. So this is telling me you've really met your shadow face on. You've not backed down from it. You've not taken your cues from those parts of yourself. And if anything, you're so grateful. I feel like this is a pile that would be so grateful for those experiences, because that's where true power, that's where you recognize true power and true courage, is when it's tested, right? And where you have no choice but to embody that. Spiritual strength, yes. Oh my God, absolutely. This is a very powerful group. I feel like you have overcome a lot on your own. And I am getting the sense that there might have been some difficult experiences that you went through as a child that didn't make sense for you, or in adolescence that didn't make sense for you. And so it forced you down this path, like to understand people and human nature, and to really like be someone that you're proud of. And maybe you didn't have good models of that growing up or something. And so now that, like, it seems like almost there was a sense of needing to prove yourself that was born from this energy. And so now it's kind of catapulted you into living with such deep intention and such deep purpose, and someone that like doesn't take for granted what they have, and just like who you've become, because you know that was built where that was built from. Yeah, you come in very activated. Okay, a lot of spiritual strength here, emotional strength for sure. Where most people like might get lost in that darkness, like you have just, you know, it's really shaped you into something that is very divine, very beautiful. Okay, so next, moving into your expectations of this incarnation. So I feel like having a deep connection to your why is what keeps you going. Because like the journey that you're on with Leo, this is like you're not giving up, okay? Like in some senses it might even come across stubborn to some people, but it's like when you have a vision, like not only can you start it with this cardinal Capricorn, but like you finish it, right? You like will keep it going. And so, and Leo and Capricorn are also both like signs of like very like, it's a beautiful balance, because on one hand you have that charisma of Leo and that like very good relatability of Leo, and you know, just like that courage, that natural courage of the Leo. But then you also have like the discipline of Capricorn, right? And you know, that Saturn energy that's coming through, and making sure your heart stays aligned, and that you have, you know, that you're operating from integrity, right? And so I feel like you don't expect things to be easy. You don't expect them to come overnight. You're like open to it. I feel like if anything, you're like, okay, I'm open to it, but as long as I keep my why, my eye on the prize, then there's no stopping me, right? There's no stopping pile number 3. Right. And so I feel like with Go the Distance, it talks about not letting like little ebbs and flows in the journey like get you down, not taking your cue not taking a good run in your business meaning anything, and not taking a bad run meaning anything, right? But just like, yeah, committing to something greater than yourself, because you are just a being that lives on purpose. And I feel like for you guys, like, yeah, you want something sustaining with this Capricornian energy. I made that Capricornian up, but that sounds cool. But you want something sustaining, but it really for you has to be connected to something greater than yourself, because there's so much here about being so fed up with superficiality and like, all right, let's get to what really fucking matters here. Like, let's get to what's true. Let's get to like, let's dive beneath the surface and not just be so on the level where, you know, there's different levels that you can like converse or share of yourself. Like, one level is just you're sharing facts. The next level you're sharing opinions, which gives you a little bit deeper of a glimpse. And then the last level ultimately is you're sharing yourself. You're sharing your hopes. You're sharing your fears. You're sharing like your journey. You're sharing you, right? And so that's where I feel like a big part of your purpose is to cultivate spaces in whatever unique fashion and way. You're cultivating spaces where that is possible, where you're talking about shit that's real, shit that matters. We have a solar plexus, so more of that Leo energy. There's so much solar power. I mean, you even have the sun coming up as the, you know, there's so much about confidence, okay? And again, I feel like it's been born from a place of feeling like you had very little of it. And look at you now. I mean, like, and you have so many beautiful, like, feline energy coming through. I mean, we have Leo represented by the sun. We have Leo right here. We have tiger's eye. We have the cheetah. So, you know, it's like the feline is connected to spiritual protection, right? The cat energy in general. And so I feel like you guys are here, like you're really warriors, because we do have warrior coming up here, warriors of truth. All right, activate the warrior inside you. It has been activated by whatever you've been through, probably deep suffering, deep confusion. And now you're just like holistically such a true confidence, man. Like you're not putting on a fucking show, right? It's like come as you are. And so you're going to be cultivating more spaces within the soul's blueprint to where other people can do that and also access greater confidence from the inside out, not versus like, oh, how do I fake it till I make it? No, it's just like, just be it. Just be, just be your natural, most authentic self. And the confidence comes with that because you're not denying, right? It's like when you get around people that feel insecure, and I mean, get around people, or just like notice when you become insecure, right? Speaking for myself too, it's when there's a part of me that is denying any part of my personality or any part of my experience. Like I'm gaslighting my own experience as being not okay, right? But the second that I'm like, oh, this too, okay, this too, I'm okay, there's anxiety and I'm not fighting it, it's like it dissipates so quickly, right? And that's true confidence. It's the true level that you're like inviting people to come into, is not fighting the human experience, but relaxing into your power, not forcing it, relaxing into it. Recognition and reward. Yeah, you guys are going to be recognized, man. Whatever field you are in, like you are going to be known if you're not already like well known in your field. I feel like you're bringing a lot of clarity. This is something that you're expecting too, right? It's something that you can already feel because it's coming from something greater than yourself. It's not coming from a distorted third chakra of needing to like, be more powerful than people or prove yourself or whatever, like coming from an unworthiness cord, but it's coming from like, I know who I am and I know my why. I know why I'm here. And so nothing's going to stop me. We have this 3. We have a lot of multiples of 3 coming up throughout this. Okay. So, again, that's like the ascended master's energy of like operating, like taking that bodhisattvic vow of like, okay, I learned all of this and I know this was not an accident. How can I now take this and use it as a gift for the planet and not giving up? And I feel like you're here for big things. I feel like you've known and felt that for a long time. However that looks for you, you will be recognized, right? You will be recognized in the ways that matter the most to you, okay? Success looks different to everyone, all right? And so moving on, we have like the action for you to take. With Courageous Peony, I feel like, the actions for you to take is like, to whatever degree you're doing this, to stop dimming yourself down, right? I love the opening line for the Courageous Peony. Like I think about it, man, there was a point in my life like 2 years ago where it was my mantra of like, the flower doesn't open or close depending on who passes by. All right. So you're not dimming yourself down. You're not diluting your message based off who's in the room, but you're just like being your most authentic self. Okay. So to whatever level you're already existing there, you're taking it up a notch. All right. So not putting on a show, not like, sometimes I notice with myself when there's people that I'm like, oh, I'm trying to impress this person, where I'm like, oh, okay, it's really, I can tell that I have put this person on a pedestal because in this moment I don't feel relaxed and I feel like I'm trying to impress them. All right. And so the second that you recognize that and bring that awareness into that, relaxing into that space, and that's going to help dissipate this energy. Okay. Action steps to take. It's like recognizing when you're trying to like put on a show or display, or when you're dimming down your light because you think someone's better, or you think someone says it's better, or whatever, you feel shut down. But just like, what's the most authentic way for me to show up in this moment, removing expectations or removing my assumptions of what other people expect of me in this moment, and what feels the most truthful and empowering way for me to show up in this moment. Sometimes, Leo is very loud and proud, and sometimes Leo energy, and this is just, you don't have to be Leo or have Leo placements, but it's just me giving an example. Sometimes that energy shows up, that solar energy shows up as loud and proud in your face, and sometimes it's like, I'm so confident that I don't need to be the one that is seen in this moment. And that communicates the most true confidence is someone that knows that they shine regardless if the spotlight's on them, right? And so I feel like also, too, you guys might be experiencing some degree of imposter syndrome. Look, we have the sun. We literally have the sun at the bottom of the deck before I started shuffling. So with lost lands and soul memories, and you've done this before, I feel like there might be part of you that feels like some imposter syndrome, like, who do I think I am, right? And so whatever degree that you might be experiencing that, that just kind of shows you where your threshold is, or where you built your ceiling of success, or your ceiling of power, of personal power. Okay, so when do you start to feel like, like other people do that, but that's not really what I do, or that like I can't do that, or like imagining those scenarios that start to make you feel uneasy, that like when you're imagining certain people that you feel easeful and comfortable around, it's generally because you think that they're in your realms, right? Or you either gauge them as being within your realms, and this is an innocent thing that we all do, or, you know, in some way you feel like you have, like you just know more, like your paradigm is just more expanded, right? But when you're around people that kind of, you're not sure, and that maybe they seem more expanded or more elevated to you in some sort of way, those are the, you know, it's a good way to gauge where your threshold of confidence is based off of those things that start to elicit a little bit of panic, right? Or your threshold of believability in yourself, or your threshold of how far you can actually go, or how great you can actually become, or how expanded your reach can actually become, right? So noticing those ways when it starts to feel a little bit, ooh, like that's a little uneasy, that's your ceiling. And, you know, just acknowledging that and relaxing into whatever, like relaxing into it, but not giving that narrative space and room to grow and thrive. Okay, base chakra, passion ignited. So we have 2-1 cards. All right, so yeah, I feel like this is like getting started, letting yourself be seen. You've done this before. So if there's been projects you've been putting off, starting them. If there have been areas that, like, I feel like this is really saying that, you know, your foundation, as long as you are following what sets you free, like you can trust that you will be supported. Okay, because maybe that's a part of where you hold back, and it's, you know, honestly a part of where a lot of us end up holding back from what actually sets us on fire, like sets our soul on fire in a good way, is because we're afraid that somehow like something's going to fall apart, we're not going to be supported. And so again, that just is an indication of that ceiling of success that you've built for yourself, of like, oh, that like on one level you have all of this power of like knowing that you are here to just like, you are a fucking bombshell. Okay, like in so many ways, pile 3, like this is screaming pile 3, this is you, like so powerful. And then like wanting to channel that, but then there's a conflicting belief that's like, well, but that can't actually sustain me. So like, you know, there's no space for spirit to prove you wrong if you're so connected to that core belief. All right. And so there's, you know, you've done this before within other dimensions, within other planetary systems, for some of you within this earth plane, at least, right? Within ancient civilizations that were much more advanced than where humanity is currently at. And so like, you know, imposter syndrome, it's just a feeling at the end of the day, like anything else, and you don't have to take your cues from it. Okay. But let yourself be seen, let yourself be different. Don't hold yourself back. But if, you know, there's a lot about like with the one active masculine force. Okay. So going out there, putting yourself out there, exploring those things that excite you, not waiting for permission, building those foundations that you know you need to be built, because you are here for great things. Okay. That's very clear. And you're just like this beautiful, like that phrase, no mud, no lotus thing is like how I would sum this up, because you are just like the most exquisite being that is born from, you know, the deepest darkness. And those are sometimes our most powerful people that I've met have known the greatest darkness. Okay. So pile number 3, I'm going to leave this reading here for now. If this resonated for you, let's see. What can we leave in the comment section? Maybe leave a fire, like a flame. Yeah, because we had so much Leo energy and like solar energy. Leave like a flame in the comment section if you made it this far, and share anything else that you want to if you feel guided. And I do hope to see you guys soon. Hey, group number 4, welcome to your reading. If you chose the snakeskin agate and this Archangel Metatron card, which I sneakily hid out of sight from you, the name at least, this is your reading. Okay, so we have 4 aspects we're diving into today. We're diving into overall your soul's vision, so who you are now based off of who you've been, and like these certain events and circumstances that have shaped you into who you are. We're going to dive into your certain, like your expectations currently on your life and how it's unfolding and how it's going to unfold, and then any actions you can take to help actualize your soul's plan and your divine destiny. Okay, and feeling just more blissful overall, which, I mean, based off of what I'm feeling here, like you guys really have no problem with. I mean, the energy from this pile, you guys, is so beautiful. Like, I was just guided to how many blues I'm seeing throughout all of these cards. Like so many, most of them have blue. All of them have blue in it. This like deep sense of like nourishment and beauty and eccentricity and love and compassion, like self-compassion. Okay. So who you guys are now, you guys are someone that is very connected to the divine. Okay. the fact that we have snakeskin agate coming up and then we have the sea serpent, I mean, there's no accident with that. I feel like snake symbology might be very like, it might be something that you really like, or a totem that you really like, or you might have a snake tattoo, or just you might really resonate with the archetype of the snake in general, which is all about transformation. It's all about, alchemizing the experiences that we went through and making something beautiful out of those sometimes polarizing experiences, right? We have this heron here that is alchemizing the elements of water and fire, seeming opposites, to create something beautiful, to create something different, right? Like taking two things that seem like they don't go together and making something work, right? And so I feel like that just might be your expression in general, because we do have Gemini energy with the snakeskin coming in and Mercury. So I feel like you guys, pile number 4, went through experiences where there might have been a lot of like, you might have been very critical of your own self, because, Gemini is the twins, okay? So Gemini represents like those aspects of ourselves that are polarized, okay? And so maybe at some point it's like you might have judged yourself for how much darkness was in you, or just like the parts of yourself that the parts within yourself where you did recognize your shadow and you did recognize your darkness, and maybe at some point you felt really negative about that, and like you didn't understand that, or maybe you saw it in other people and just wanted to understand that more. Like, how does someone that seems like such a good person, how do they have the capacity within them to do A, B, C, and D? Or how do I, like, why do I come in with like these weird distortions of like, speaking for myself, like when I was younger, and I'm sure this had to do with like my chaotic living environment, but like I stole a lot. Like I would go to the mall and just like load my bags, okay? And so there was a lot of confusion that even that instilled within me, where it kind of forced me, or at least I should say more so gave me an invitation to explore the shadow side, the shadow aspects, okay? And so I feel like with this Gemini and Mercury, there's a lot here about like maybe you weren't always super comfortable in your skin because there were parts of yourself that you still kind of denied, or parts of yourself that just remain unintegrated, right? And that you, from your limited perspective, because most children and adolescents have a very limited frame, right? A framework and lens of perception. It's like you might have been really hard and not really felt comfortable in your skin and comfortable in all aspects of yourself, displaying all aspects of yourself, maybe even communicating all aspects of yourself with a strong Mercurian energy coming through. And this, the snakeskin agate really talks about having the confidence to step outside your comfort zone and explore new aspects of yourself, right? And so like, it helps boost your self-esteem because you're no longer denying any aspect of yourself. And that's where low self-esteem comes from, is when we assume and when we like have learned through conditioning that any part of ourself is something to be shameful of, versus no, it's just part of the experience. Like Archangel Metatron is a being that comes to us newly on our spiritual path. So I'm not surprised this would be showing up in the area of like the events that shaped you into who you are, because there is such a profound spiritual awareness from this pile number 4, okay? And even if you wouldn't call yourself a spiritual person, I feel like you are really in alignment with a lot of spiritual truth, whether or not you know that. You naturally have an affinity towards operating in harmony with that, with spiritual law, okay? Or like the Tao, or the ways, like Christians might say, or like, there's so many different religions have essentially been saying the same thing, right? Just in different words, different ways. But I feel like whatever experiences, like feeling lack of confidence and not, because there's such strong Mercurian energy, I feel like this also has to do with like trying to blend in and maybe not knowing how to speak authentically. And yeah, with all this blue too, like the throat chakra. Yeah. Like maybe there was so much of denying or not knowing how to own your power, or own your authenticity, and not knowing how to like speak up, right? And how to speak that and with confidence, because it might have been very different from a lot of people, because I am getting very old souls from this. Yeah, you have star ancestors coming through. So lost wisdom, like deep ancient wisdom, okay? And so I feel like this has kind of catalyzed you into who you are now, because now you are someone that like, we have the third eye very open, we have the heart very clearly open, and we have someone that has surrendered to the process of alchemy, which is not always comfortable, but I feel like there's such a sense of peace that pile number 4 that you emanate even within the most challenging moments of your life. And I feel like it's, again, because you've been doing this for a long time, like, you know, in terms of lifetimes, like millennia, right? Thousands of incarnations. And you just get it. You just have such a strong connection to the spiritual realms and a strong connection to your higher self. So who you are now, I mean, you're very healing to be around. You were probably a healer, or you would resonate with that. People would just like, if you're not sure what that is, that's just, you know, people feel very nourished in your presence. You're very emotionally stable. You're very in tune with your emotions. And again, who we are now, generally, we're coming from, you know, the imprints, the impressions, the samskaras is another way to say that, right? Or the early karmic propensities, the early karmic impressions. Generally, we feel the opposite of that, right? So whatever you're feeling now and kind of embodying now is just going to get more, it's just going to increase. So you're just going to become more beautiful and like tapped in and activated and very in tune with, you know, your crown, your throat, your third eye, right? All of that, your heart, everything, right? And so, but I feel like it was born from you feeling not comfortable in your skin and not safe to express yourself. And you might have had very logical or very like, not logical, but understandable reasons why you didn't feel confident to explore outside of your comfort zone. Maybe that wasn't something that was like encouraged, or you didn't have the space to really get to know who you were outside of like familial constructs. Okay. Yeah. Because the snake skin does talk about privacy, right? But this also talks about self-love. So there might have been lacking in self-love or like strength and feeling like you're strong enough, feeling like you are capable to achieve and to accomplish what you knew from the beginning. Because to have Archangel Michael come up for the category of like what's occurred in your past to shape you now, this tells me that you've just always had a very deep spiritual awareness. Maybe you remember seeing, like, because there's so much third eye energy coming through, maybe you've like seen angels and you've seen past people and you've like seen other dimensions and you remember that. And maybe your dreams are very like prophetic, right? So I'm getting the sense of like deep spiritual awareness, and maybe also that's why you didn't feel so confident in your skin, because those weren't experiences that your friends were having, or your friends talked about, or your family talked about. And so it was something that you kind of had to discover for yourself. And so that's where this emotional reliance has been born, and this resiliency has been born from, because you have gone on this journey by yourself. Okay. With the 9 energy is all about self-sufficiency, right? Not relying on external things so much, but your deep connection to spirit has really been what's guiding you so far. Really far. It's been guiding you very far. Okay. And so what is it that you expect PAL for? So your guys' expectations of this incarnation is like, you want something, you get it. What's that Ariana Grande song? Like, I want it, I got it. That's such a good song. I love that song. My daughter started singing it. I was like, well, maybe I'm going to put a pause on playing this because her little cute voice would start singing that. But yeah, I feel like you guys like know that life is meant to be fun. Okay. Like there is, again, it's interesting because I know I can deeply feel that people that like where it looks like this on the outside, and where you get to this point of it being so calm and like having so much peace and just being so at ease with the flow of things. Like I know that tends to come from like the most chaotic kind of backgrounds, right? And the most like unstable. I just saw 1010. So like, yeah, like undoing, like there was a lot of karma that comes along with getting to this point. So I just feel like it's just so incredible to see that regardless of what you had gone through and just how many skins that you have shed and how many versions of yourself you've probably been, that you still expect life to be badass. And that, you know, I feel like you recognize that you're only getting better. And again, that comes along with understanding the process of alchemy and the process of purification. So another way of saying that is removing away the bullshit that you adopted, that other people told you you should be, society, culture, etc., and you let that burn away, and it reveals more of your true nature and what you, Pal Forward, came here to embody. And so I feel like there's a deep expectation for things to work out for you. And like for things to continue to get better. And so because you've surrendered to this process, it's like, it's fun. When you go through a death cycle, it's fun. You're like, oh goody, I cannot wait to see who the fuck I become after this person just fucked me over, or after this didn't go my way, or, you know, it's like, I feel like this is a true sense of enjoying all of life and understanding after every death is a new life, a new version of yourself. I feel like too, you're expecting something. This could be soon. I feel like you might feel like you're on a threshold, or just that you've been on this journey so long that you're like, it's only a matter of time. And I feel like you might be feeling that you're on the verge of a breakthrough, or on the verge of things changing very quickly, very positively. Right? The yang energy too talks about like you've already overcome any obstacles that can be inhibiting you from what it is deep down that you know you deserve. You've already overcome the obstacles, okay? Which is like essentially your own self. And it's not to say that we ever stop growing, but I feel like you have just done so much of that transmutation and that healing that, you know, it's like, no wonder you're feeling this, because the scales have tipped, and right, you're ready for that new life, that new burst of energy to come through. Yeah, this talks about, this really talks about like self-sufficiency, both of these cards, okay? And that's what essentially, I'm going to butcher this, but the Ouroboros represents is like the snake eating its own tail, or the dragon eating its own tail, or in this case, the sea serpent eating its own tail. It talks about all is one, right? And all like being at ease with all of the experiences of life. And it also represents like self-sufficiency in the sense of like it's eating its own tail, and through that death, it is becoming something even greater, but through its own demolishing of itself, okay? So again, that's like giving it even more of an indication of how much you guys have probably traversed in order to be at this space that you are currently. Okay, so what else are you expecting? Partnerships and alliances. So working with really incredible people, truth, judgment. So yeah, more of like getting to know yourself, more of like those, like reclaiming more of your truth, reclaiming more of who it is that you're meant to be. Pile 4, I just see you knowing and deeply feeling that you're just going to become more and more bomb. Like you're like, I'm aging like a fine wine, right? And so I feel like you guys expect to be working with people, and you expect to be making a tangible difference in the lives of other people. For some of you guys, this could be online, but I do see this is like in person, right? I do see you guys like, maybe even it's like, some sort of way working in person with people to help them come into greater alignment with their truth and like what you've discovered, right? Generally what's written in our soul blueprint for us to overcome that you have so beautifully, masterfully done, is like what we're here to extend in the planet in our own unique way. And again, it's generally in a way that it seems like it's very different. It's very unique. It almost is like, okay, how do these two things, how can they go together? And so there is this repetition throughout this reading of the way that it's going to happen for you, or the way that you do it. Pile number 4 is very unique, okay? But it's very authentic to you. It's like you're not copying. Like the yang energy reminds me of that cardinal energy of being a starter, right? Starting something, being the initiator, okay? Starting something new, not following things or following other people or following trends, but like really starting something that feels like it's born from you, okay? And yeah, helping other people do that along the way as well. So a little bit deeper into your reading, actions to take to help accelerate this process. I feel like you guys might be in a state of just, again, that breakthrough energy was really here. Maybe you guys are about to make a big move or something, but there is a sense of like, you expect things to be smooth sailing. Whether or not that's your experience right now is a different story, but I feel like you expect and you understand that things don't always have to be hard. And that's a very beautiful core belief to have, okay? Because sometimes we can, when we have these early experiences that are very hard, we can almost adopt that that narrative of being like, what is it called? The underdog. And so where you have to overcome all these difficulties all the time and prove all these people wrong. It seems like you guys have not developed that, and that you're, maybe at some point you did, but who you are now is not really showing that. And it's really coming from a very balanced place of, you just want to create from peace. You're like, I appreciate the peace that I have in my life. I have enough contrast to know like what I don't want, and I want to continue to offer this peace to other people, and to like, have your life in even more ways reflect this unearthing you've done of yourself and the peace that you've cultivated within yourself. This is like so beautiful. Like this is such beautiful energy that I'm feeling, and I feel it so much in my heart. And it feels like it's just naturally pouring out. and there's not a whole lot of mind, okay? Again, that's that release, the judgment, that moment of release, that moment of resurrection, the soul coming back online with this new life. Yeah, not overthinking things. So the actions you can take to help accelerate this process, or to enjoy it even more, to just feel more free, because this feels like an inevitable thing that's happening. You're being pointed, like if you guys have been wanting to like study something deeper or understand something deeper, I feel like this is like redirecting your focus to more practical things, because you guys are so in the upper chakras. There's a lot here about being a bit more grounded and like maybe taking a course. So like, for example, if, you know, one of the ways that this applies to me, so I have been learning a lot about the nervous system and the subtle body and what it means, like how I interpret certain things to be, and how I interpret phrases like being a house divided against yourself, where on one level you feel so much power, but that's not actually your experience. It generally has to do with like a nervous system disruption that we've been carrying around in the cellular body. Okay, so what, like, I can know that, and I can have access to knowing that I'm here to help, I'm here to work with people in some sort of way. But if I'm not taking courses and I'm not like, you know, doing anything to get deeper into that or ground it a little bit more, ground that reality, then, you know, then here we are, right? And so that's just an example of like, if there are areas of your life that really speak to you and that are a deep part of your soul's blueprint. So in other words, what you've experienced and what you feel like you're here to unearth for other people, the truth you're here to help other, like reveal, right? To contribute to the planet, get started on that, right? Whether that's higher learning, higher studying, or just like your own, you know, I think they say when you study something for like 7 years at least, like that's when you're considered an expert. And so like, what have you naturally been studying for so long, you know? Like deepening into that, like adding more to your, not even like adding more to your knowledge base, but just like generally with these types of codes, it's just giving you more permission to not have imposter syndrome, right? But I feel like there's something deeper that wants to be unlocked in an area that you're already in, okay? Let's get a little bit deeper. Can we get more information on this, Spirit? Okay, this one popped out. Fulfillment of wishes. Choose wisely. Triumphant success. We have one more. I want to come up. Wisdom. Yeah, okay, so with a higher font, this is kind of confirming like studying, okay? Or like taking the opportunity for higher learning, because, you know, I am guided to the fact that this individual has a book, okay? And that can just talk about like higher educational systems. It doesn't have to be, but just like taking a course. I feel like too, it's just going to give you more confidence. Because although I feel like with star ancestors, it's like, this is really saying that if you've been feeling stuck or stagnant, and like, again, it feels like you're on the brink of a breakthrough, but you haven't quite popped through yet, I feel like it's because your guides are wanting you to explore something a little bit deeper and to go much more beyond the surface than what maybe other people in your field tend to talk about, or like, this talks about sacred technology, ancient technology, ancient wisdom, okay? And that's kind of what the Hierophant talks about too. But the thing about the Hierophant, it's like, it's going about it in a way that feels very unique to you. There's a really important aspect of staying true to yourself, right? And bringing your own unique flair to something that you're already doing, to something that, you know, I feel like is a deep fulfillment of your wishes. Right, we have the Nine of Cups energy coming through twice here. I feel like too that there's a lot of different ways that you can go. Like, I'm really getting, and apply this to however it applies to your guys's, right? But like your situation. I feel like you guys might feel like there's a lot of different pathways you can take that would be reflective of your soul's blueprint, and not wanting to make a wrong move or something. And so this is like really doing research, and like taking action is really clear, is very important here. We have more of like the throat chakra energy coming through. So like expression too. So expressing higher wisdom, expressing higher ideals, being a teacher, okay? So if you guys are in the realms where you're teaching other people or you're working with other people, you know, they say that in order to really truly be a teacher, that you consistently need to be learning and expanding your knowledge, expanding your understanding of certain wisdoms and teachings and sacred technologies. Yeah, maybe you guys work with like chakra stones, or you work with like Reiki symbols, or like maybe you do work with like the pyramids or sound healing or something, or like different types of technology that we have available to us. Like breath work is considered a technology as well. And so I feel like this is not settling for what other people have been doing and like choosing the thing that has been working for other people because it's been working for other people, or because you feel like you're guaranteed success in that thing. So it's like if you have been on the brink, feeling like this new energy and feeling like you've come so far in yourself, and like you're waiting, right, with this one energy coming through, you're like, if it was made obvious to me and something really just like clicked into place, like I would go full force at it. If you're not already feeling it, it might be because there's still a part of you that's compromising a part of your integrity, because it's been working for other people, or, you know, something, it seems more practical or whatever. You know, it's that, again, the blending in with the crowd archetype that was clear at the beginning of your blueprint reading. And it's really just staying true and authentic to you and taking things that might not seem like they fit together and making something very unique and authentic, because that at the end of the day is what's going to keep you very focused on something and very like committed to it. So we're past the like cardinal energy, right? The initiatory energy, and we're in the fixed energy of like, okay, I'm locked in, I'm loaded, I'm going to keep, you know, this is it. But those things that, you know, encourage you to study deeper and continue to take you deeper into what you believe to be the true nature of reality is very important. And you're not choosing, again, something based off of what has worked for other people, but you're really taking the time and the space that you need to discover what feels the most authentic to you. And it might be very different from what has already been created up to this point in time. Very like outside of traditions. And so if you guys have been wondering, should I take that class? Should I deepen yada yada, A, B, C, and D? This is like, yes. And, you know, especially if it's very grounded on the earth plane, in terms of like, you guys are very naturally ethereal beings and very connected to the higher planes. And so I feel like this is really about grounding it into reality and creating something very, like, really, I feel like this higher learning and this higher studying and this new possible direction that you're being guided to is linked to this breakthrough energy that you're feeling coming through. And so the more that you can align and you're just studying what feels right, like releasing results, right? Releasing this energy of needing to get something from something, right? So you're just following your bliss, essentially, is what the fuck I'm trying to spit out. You're just following what feels right and what excites you and what feels like it's deepening into what you've deeply already felt intuitively, and it's taking you into greater ancient wisdom and essentially feeling more free and helping other people become more free. Like, lean into that and not settle. Like, don't settle, you know? Like, there's so many different ways to be successful, and you don't have to compromise your truth in order to have the type of success that you might be seeing other people having in certain areas that maybe you might be dabbling in. But, you know, don't feel like you have to settle for just one thing, right? I feel like your guides are really saying there's something here that is not fully being seen. And I feel like it has to do with like comfort zones and exploring all aspects of yourself, right? Giving yourself permission to explore all different types of things. Because when it clicks, you're going to fucking know. Like, you're like, that click is going to feel like a fixation. And you're like, this is it. Like, you're not going to want to do anything else. Okay. You can have multiple things that kind of feel like that. But again, I feel like there's something much greater and much bigger than what you might be doing. And again, please use your discernment when I say these things. Okay. But I am getting that sense that there's something greater here. Okay. And I don't like saying selling out. You might be selling yourself out. I don't mean to say that, and I don't mean to laugh. I'm sorry. That was like, I have that tendency of laughing at inappropriate times, but when I'm uncomfortable. But it's like you just might be selling yourself short is a better way of saying it, right? But I feel like there's great things that you are here to do and leave behind on the planet, and great work that you are here to do, and you're going to contribute in a very powerful way to, like, I feel like you're contributing new ideas in something that in a way that is very organic and in a way that hasn't been done quite like the way that you're meant to do it. Okay, so don't sell yourself short and give yourself permission to explore. And like the success is coming, and that breakthrough is linked to, deepening your knowledge into this area of your blueprint that feels like you have already overcome and that you've already been deeply immersed in, and like how you've found healing. So it's linked to all of those aspects of remaining truthful to yourself, staying sovereign, aligned to your blueprint, like embodying both shadow and light aspects of yourself. Peace, right? It has to do with peace. It has to do with contentment. It has to do with, like why we're here. Okay. But I could keep going on because there's like so much like, what is it? It feels like a very cryptic message, but I feel like you guys will be able to extract what you're meant to. Okay. But like, don't stop exploring. There's something here, like keep exploring, keep deepening, keep researching, keep, if you have been wanting or thinking or wondering if you should take that course or take that class, I feel like it's a good sign, because you might also make connections with people in the field, and that is going to really give you a leg up in an area that you are meant to thrive in, and that you will be very well known for. Okay. So I'm going to leave this reading here for now, pile 4. Thank you so much for being here. If you chose this pile today, maybe leave a snake in the comment section, or a book or something, or a sword. Yeah. And I do hope to see you soon.